Okay, so here we keep going on the level cross of separation with the 5-1 profile. The 5-1. I love this fifth line, but then again, partial to fifth line. It's my prejudice of my personality that's wrong. It's a left angle cross of separation. The line is joy, and it says waiting as aspect of enlightenment. It's rather amazing. To remain calm as the ultimate aesthetic. Now, these lines come through me. And whenever I have these moments where I go through this process, because this is a very profound process, I get certain lines and I go, oh yeah, the aesthetic part of it. Joy is about beauty. And the thing that's so incredible about patterns is that they're really beautiful. Have you ever seen the pattern of Venus movement in the sky? Have you ever seen that? Any of you? Some of you must have seen it. It's gorgeous. We don't think of it as a way because we don't see these lines of movement. But if you see the pattern of things, there's this incredible beauty. The joy is in the beauty of the pattern, not in the life within the pattern. Imagine that you're in the Prado, this wonderful museum in Madrid. It's a great museum. If you ever have a chance, it's a museum to visit. Imagine you're standing in the Prado and all the lights are off, and then they turn on the lights. And the moment they turn on the lights, the patterns of beauty are revealed. This is enlightenment. It's bringing this light to the pattern. And when you bring this light to the pattern, you get it right away. You get to see the beauty. And the moment that you begin to extend that further and further and further, you get to see the beauty of the large pattern, the cosmic pattern. And to stay calm, what it is a thing to ask the sacral. It's like asking the solar plex to be patient. It's one of these requests that you just shake your head. It's like what balls it takes to do that. Be calm. You stay to the sacral sound. Be calm, and until the sacral can embrace the beauty of its own pattern, only then it's so-called enlightenment possible. And the interesting thing is to read the Pluto detriment of this line is really to have, yeah, there are epiphanies waiting. Joy dismissed as an illusion, but the joy is there. Think about that. It's not saying there is no joy. The fifth line of this configuration is always going to see joy, but at what level and in what way? Here's joy to misses as an illusion. Waiting is a failure. Disillusionment with recognizing one place in the foe. Here you get to the transpersonal essence. You get to the whole karmic geometry business. And that the only way that you can begin to find joy is the aesthetic of the larger pattern. Whenever I look at anything in human design, it's why I love to do illustration. Every illustration I've ever done in human design has struck a deep aesthetic something in me. To me, the body graph is such a beautiful thing. It's exquisite. If you hand the body graph to a mathematician and you ask the mathematician to analyze all of the angles and configuration, they go nuts. You have no idea how incredible that pattern actually is until you start as a programmer, with to just construct the pattern and to recreate it just through understanding the angle. It's all pattern. So the ultimate potential is to separate oneself. Separate oneself from the physical dilemma of life to see the beauty of the larger pattern. Life is leading to death, but so what? You can also see the beauty in the process. It's very easy for me to talk about the beauty of a cycle and not be caught to that beauty in the birth or the beauty in the journey. It's not one or the other. It's the whole thing. It's the whole pattern, and it's a pattern that is a microcosm for other patterns and other patterns and other patterns and other patterns. Then you get to see what waiting is really is all about, and the great teaching of sacral waiting. Because if you wait, if you enter into things correctly, the self-evident aesthetic of life is revealed. Life is here to be experienced aesthetically for all its beauty. My north node is in the second gate, first line. It's all about aesthetics in life. I detest ugliness. I detest it in all forms. I detest ugliness in form, in action, in words. I detest it. There's no place in my life, in my direction in this life, for anything that is ugly. It's not that I don't accept that. Ugliness is a part of the world. But beauty for me is holy. It's subjective, but it's holy. And it's the capacity of the fifth to embrace the aesthetic of death itself, to see that death can be beautiful, that being in form that dies can be so beautiful, and there's no need for the personality to reflect the decay of the body. My 93-year-old mother, 5 or 6 months ago in conversation when we're having, I call her up on Sunday and ask her how she is and how she feels. And she said to me, this morning in the bathroom, I looked in the mirror and she said, until I got to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, I felt really young. And then I saw myself and I realized I'm ancient. It's one of the things about the separation of the personality from its physical destiny. It's like me. It's hard for me to understand that my body is 57. It really is. It's hard for me to understand that my body is getting old. It's deteriorating. And my poor broncholias are going down to the toilet. But my spirit inside is still over 14 or 15 years. It's young. If I didn't look in the mirror, I wouldn't know how old I was. I'd have no idea. It's a separation that's so magical because who we think we are, personality consciousness, is the personality can actually accept in its helplessness that there is beauty in being. It doesn't matter what you stated, it doesn't make any difference. This is magic. But to get there, we are depending and not manifesting teachers like who we are. So we can see this and express it. It has to come out of those sacred beings that say to us and teach us that progress leads to two tracks. One track is the body and its terminal pattern. The other track is the spirit, and it may in fact be enlightened. It may in fact recognize its helplessness, find its spirit, and in finding its spirit, beginning to tear away the ugliness of the world and see for itself its relative subjective beauty. Now we go to the 5-2. When we're with the 5-2 of the fifth hexagram in this incredible line of joy and waiting as an aspect of alignment, again we're going back to the dilemma of being self-motivated. It's difficult for the 5-2. Their personality is deeply, deeply suspicious. It's very difficult for a suspicious and paranoid personality to be calm. You have to think about that, how difficult that is. You have to have a 5 personality, and the 5 personality is only attuned to being suspicious. It's not calm. It's not naturally calm. For the 5-2, where there is only the personality that's suspicious, there's only a design that is resistant anyway. It's closed off, and it wants to be closed off. Joy for the things, for these beings, is not something that they really get access to. How interesting to think about joy as such a logical thing. You can see that in the 58 in the joy. It's funny to me that joy is logical, and yet to really grasp it is to recognize that it's the business of the potential of satisfaction that makes joy possible. It's a satisfaction, and the 5-2, it's aware that we'll get to the opportunity in this life to really be able to find joy in the process. Again, it's a matter of the way in which we are conditioned when we are young. After all, it has to do with the way in which we are raised. It has to do with particularly when we're dealing with a 5, because you're dealing with an inherent pattern in the sacral, and almost all sacred beings are conditioned negatively away from the generative process. So, following